So, we are now on Thursday, the 26th of March, coming up to the end of the month, not far off the Easter holidays. And I think that I'm starting to feel in quite a relatively comfortable position, with not much. It's not about constantly trying to catch up because with things like my hard drive crashing and moving most of the month of February, I felt like I was sort of behind a little bit. So I was spending more time feeling like I was constantly chasing my tail rather than being able to sit down, take a step back and enjoy sort of just exploring ideas. So I had been exploring ideas, and I spoke previously about um, going to do some sort of animation through Blender. So I'd been working sort of on this, but I just felt like it wasn't maybe perhaps coming across the way that I wanted it to. So obviously while I was working on the animation, I was constantly researching and searching on the internet, watching TED.com videos, YouTube videos, general Google searches, just to see what could be thrown up and to see if there was anything that would possibly help me and fit exactly what I needed and what I needed to work to try and visualise all this data that I'm gathering. So to start off with, I'll show you a little bit of some of the animations that I'd kind of tried and decided against. So the first one was like a cyberspace type of visualization. And what I wanted to do was sort of create maybe perhaps the inside of like a conduit, and you would see all the tweets sort of flying past you, and you could possibly see some of the tweets through the animation, the actual information on the tweet. So as you can see here, it's just a loop animation. This is a low res one, but still gets the point across. As you can see here, this would be like sort of the inside of the conduit, and the wireframe mesh here was just to sort of give it this futuristic style look. The colours were to represent various emotions. The sort of breaking up effect here was something that it was more of the effects that I was just sort of playing around with, trying to familiarise myself with what was possible and what wasn't possible. However, I felt like this wasn't really working out exactly how I wanted, so it was something that I decided sort of against, and this is more of a high res one that sort of plays through it and based on again the same idea. Again, wasn't quite what I was hoping it was going to be, so I just left it and sort of moved on. And then I had an idea about creating a neural network. So with people, emotions are sort of expressed through, like, it's transmitted through your sort of neural network in your brain when you're conveying emotion. So I had this idea about showing a neural network and tweets, or the pulses flying through this neural network, and the colour of these electrical pulses would obviously represent the emotions. So I had a kind of play around with this. So I created a sort of node, a neural network node, if you like, with obviously other bits flying off. So this felt like it was obviously very organic and not quite what I was looking for. However, the animation, this is just running through the stills, but the animation sort of, would flip round. You would see the neural node, the impulses pulsing off that, again with colour representation, and you would sort of fly about. You could see various other things. Again, not quite exactly what I was looking for. So I decided just to sort of leave it at that. What I was going to do was create like a digital version of this. So you've got, again, the neural network. This takes it away from sort of the biology and brings it back into the more sort of data centre that your type of Twitter companies would deal with. But I decided that after a week or so of playing around with it, it just wasn't quite sort of what I was hoping it was going to be. And I think that the the amount of time required to sort of put an animation that I had built up in my head was going to take a lot longer, just through personal experience from previous projects that I've done. So when I was doing a bit of research, I came across a program called gource, or gource, as I've heard some tutorials pronounce it. And what this does is designed to show a root file structure. So basically, developers who have been working on projects for a long period of time can input a server log, which basically records everything every time you upload a file, amend a file, modify a file, or delete a file. And it records all this information. And what it does is it uses coloured dots to represent files. So a JPEG file could be represented by the colour green, and a PNG file could be represented by the colour blue, and so on and so forth. And you would have a small user icon that would float about, sort of shooting these files into sort of various places, and you would sort of end up with this type of organic style tree sort of growing. So it's an open source code program, Google code, and you can go in and you can download it. If you type in gource, that's Gource into Google, it comes up first in the search parameters. You can download the code, and then it comes with a sort of cookbook, and you can modify it. And the modifications are relatively extensive, to sort of let you change things as much as possible. It also lets you insert a custom log file, which was the most important bit, because with it being designed to show server files, it was basically very difficult to sort of to use this for the purposes that I had. However, I could see the potential. And what I liked about it was that it grew organically, which basically data mining is. You collect the data, however, you have no idea how the amount of data that's going to come out, and or the type of data that's going to come out. So I'm looking for sort of emotions, positive and negative emotions, and what it's doing is it's displaying. Or what it will do is it will take all these, using the custom log format. It will take all these emotions. I will be able to assign the emotions a colour value, and then it will display this emotion in gource, using that colour value represented by a dot. So to install gource, you need to install it through your terminal. Which can be, this is your sort of terminal here. If you're on a Mac, you simply just go into your sort of main menu, you've got your other, and your terminal is located right here next to your migration assistant and activity monitor. I couldn't imagine it being anywhere else on your computer if you've got a Mac, so that's simply how you find it. If you're in your Finder window, it's located in Applications. Once it loads up, and you simply scroll down, and it should be in here somewhere. I think it's under Utilities and Terminal, and that'd be you there. And you just double click that, and you would have your terminal open up. Now I've been working in this. My computer's been running for a few days solid now, so there's been quite a few things you need to navigate to gource using this. So this tells you here, it starts up like this file that's highlighted here. This tells me that I'm on Stephen's iMac, that's the name of my computer, Stephen, and it's basically saying it's ready for a command. So the first thing I do is put ls, that stands for list, and what that does is it lists all the folders of the location that you're sitting at. In this case, I want to go to Google Drive, because that's the folder that I use. It's cloud computing. It's located here in my Finder window. So I put in CD, which stands for command, Google Drive. It's important to put them in these commas, because it doesn't like spaces. So if you don't put the comma in, it doesn't read it, and you end up it just comes up error. So if that ever happens, it's because you've got a space in it and you haven't put your commas in. I then got a CD command, hit return, and it's now tells me that I'm in Stephen's iMac, location Google Drive. Stephen, $, it's ready for the next command. I then push ls again, and within Google Drive it gives me a list of every folder that's in my Google Drive. So if I close this over, go to Google Drive, and there you go. So AI80 photos, bad year 3, and so on and so forth. You can work your way down. So yeah, basically you navigate to where you want to be. In this case, I'm basically navigating to the file I want to run, which is located in the test files, then colour tests, or in that case it was colour tests. So basically I've been running it back and forth. This was something that I tried to install and didn't quite work, so it was not very helpful. I'll just close it up a little bit, just so, in fact I'll close it up just so you can see the line that's important. So the line that's important starts here. This is from a previous test, so this is a line that we are focusing on. So what does this line do? This line tells me that we're on Stephen's iMac, we're in the database samples folder, Stephen $. That tells me that it's ready, where I'm located, and I'm now ready for a command. Okay, and I think I have just, what I'll do is push enter. Okay, right, start again. So we have Stephen's iMac, database samples, Stephen. So what I need to tell the computer to do is I first type in gource, and so the computer now knows that this is a program I want to run. And these are the various settings that come with gource, so you can modify it. So the -S stands for seconds, and this stands for how many seconds do you want to pass in any given day. So this I've put sort of 1/100th of a second. That will let me flick through days or hours and hours very quickly. Okay. Hide. What are the things that I want to hide that come up now? If you just run a file, gource will show everything. It will show the file names, the directory file names, the user names, and everything else. So what we want to do is basically hide them. And to do that, you simply type in --hide, and then we want to hide the date. We want to hide the directory names, which is basically your folder names. We want to hide the file names, the user names, the files. Actually, in this case, we don't want to hide the files because the files is the coloured dots that we want to see. So you can't sort of click and delete. You need to simply scroll left and right. So we'll take out files. Okay, the bloom is the sort of extra kind of colour, you'll see that in a moment, and the tree, we want to see that as well. So right here I've got saying hide the date, directory names, file names and user names. Okay, the default user image is basically just a sort of little small man icon. So I've changed that. In this case, right now it's sitting at transparent PNG, but I would like to change that to Twitter.png. Now you can't just type these in, you need to make sure that everything that you're putting in that's custom is located within the folder that you're telling it to run. So at gource, I've got test files, I've got database samples. Within here there's a 60,000.txt file and a Twitter PNG file here. So this is where I've told it, because this is where I'm located. As you can see, the database samples, that's the database samples. I want to use a default user image of the Twitter logo, so it's telling the program to grab this file. I want the camera mode track, so you can either have it track or overview. Track means it sort of stays in quite close and sort of bounces around, so you can see these sort of the organised chaos, if you like. Overview make sure it zooms out and you can see everything all at once simultaneously. Dash full screen, which simply means to make the program run on your full screen straight away. The max file lag time. Right, I've got about 1/10 of a second here. So the reason why I've got the max file lag time. Well, what is the max file lag? When you're inputting lots and lots of files, say you have your user icon right here, and what he'll do is he'll travel up to the point at where he wants to insert his file, and then he'll sort of drop his file. But what can happen is if you have thousands, hundreds, or even thousands of people coming in here at any given time, and they're all shooting around and they want to sort of place their files, instead of people travelling along to in-place their files, they'll come in and they'll shoot their file in. And what that does is it just sort of it keeps things moving at quite a fast pace, and that's what I want. I want it to be fast because all these things sort of happen in split seconds. And then you have your 60,000 M. That's the name of my file, .txt, and this is basically a sample based on 60,000 emotional tweets that were tweeted at, that have been data mined, from Twitter. So now all I need to do is, now that I've put that I've navigated to where I want to be and I've put in all my sort of custom formats, I just need to hit enter and you'll see it run in a moment. So now you can see it running here. You get the Twitter logos dancing about crazy. You can see the camera sort of tracking things. It's bouncing around. They're all sort of the little lasers are all firing in here and putting in their sort of logo, their file names. I push spacebar, I can pause it. As you can see, when I hold over here, you have your file name, which is a Roland Fernand 7. Serenity, joy, and serenity. So this was a sort of emotion that he was kind of feeling. This one doesn't have the tweet involved in this one, but all the blooms sort of, you can start to see them sort of clustering together, and these all represent different emotions: anticipation, loathing, disgust. This is the serenity, so you can stvnews.serenity. Underneath it, the joy/serenity is the folder structure that it's in. Push play, you'll see it start to sort of take shape. Now what this is now doing is now constructing the organic sort of style tree. You have the Twitter logos, which each represent a user, all different, and they're all firing in here and they're all firing their files down. And what I've decided to do is use this to represent the database of tweets that I've mined, and that's how I feel like, and I feel like this has been sort of one of the strongest concepts. It was a little bit of a pain making sure it was installed properly on both my iMac in the home and my MacBook Pro, so I could work sort of at home and while I was sort of on the go, and it was a bit of a pain trying to sort of make sure I had everything labelled correctly so the program would read the custom log format and also file them correctly, which was sort of the biggest thing, which was the biggest pain. Right at this moment, the colours that are getting pulled through are sort of random. They aren't specific to the colours that we want. If we can sort of zoom out here, I'll show you what's happening. There you go. So the lights here that you can see shooting are the users that are coming in here, and instead of them floating too close towards where they need to be, they're literally just shooting their all their emotions and files to their location. And what that does is that then allows them to sort of flutter out before disappearing once they've laid their digital footprint. And this will probably run for maybe a good 10 minutes while it sort of tries to do it. So I think this works really well. I think it shows the sort of organised chaos of the amount of sort of tweets that come in here and fly around. You know, and eventually leaves a very well structured sort of tree. And and I'm quite happy that I managed to find this sort of program and make it work. Like I says, it was never designed for this sort of use. It was designed to show projects that had been worked on. So I'm quite happy with the way everything actually looks, and how it just sort of gives things a really good representation. And I can also hide the users by pushing G, and it just basically shows the tree sort of growing. You can see the Serenity tree here. They're sort of just building on the outside. But I think that the Twitter logos just give it an added something that just make it, that shows the busyness. So what I need to do now, or what I'm hoping to do, is project this full, to get a projector and project this on a full size wall, and then have maybe 3 or 4 computers in front of it that will have some sort of dashboard, some sort of user interface that will let them sort of see and digest the information, what's happening on there, so they'll know that this blue circle represents Serenity and this green circle represents Joy, and they'll be able to understand sort of why these colours are used and the tweets that are in here. I was hoping to make this sort of interactive, as in the way I'm sort of hovering over it with my mouse, being able to push spacebar to freeze it. You can hover over the users and it's coming up the usernames. You can hover over the files and it's telling you the username and the emotion that they were feeling at that point. However, this needs to be run through the command line. So to do that, I would need to install this program onto all the computers that I plan to use during the exhibition. So plus also, if someone comes on and accidentally hits the escape bar and it stops the program, then I'm going to be left with this. And during quite a busy period, which the exhibition always is, I think it might not be the best idea. Plus I would need to install the files that I would like to run on each of the computers. So I think to get around that, what I can do is basically record my screen, and once I record the screen, I just need to put it in a pen drive, plug the pen drive into the projector and project it onto the wall. And then all that I need to do is have the dashboard that's sort of interactive, so it'd be like a sort of high-tech website that people can sort of look at and click around and digest some of the information that's there. And then I'm hoping to have some printed material so they can take away with them as well, so the information that they're sort of perceiving on the screen and the Macs will be in some sort of printed format that they can take away. But I think all in all, it's been a month, a hard month, just working constantly 7 days a week, never really taking a day off, to get to this point, just to sort of play catch up from February and making sure that I'm in a really good position. But yeah, I think I'm starting to get there now. I've got gource, which is mainly sort of nailed down. It's just needing a few minor tweaks to get the files running properly. I began building the user interface, which people will interact with, and I was speaking to my developer, who is going to build the sort of user interface for me as well, so everything will sort of look really well and we can get it working the exact way that we want it, which is a result. And then after that, I'm going to sort of look at how I can take this and put them into sort of printed material as well. So yeah, definitely happy with everything.